Welcome to our Revive Studios talk show and podcast hosted by Victory Lyric. Get ready to be inspired to be all you were called and created to be. Join us as we showcase nationwide artisans and their unique stories. This is your opportunity to explore creativity with diverse crafts, recipes, and tutorials with practical tips for unleashing your artistic side. Let's get ready for spiritual upliftment, healing stories, miracles, and divine goodness. Get ready for an amazing segment of our Revive Studios talk show and podcast with host Victory Lyric.
Hey guys, we're back with part 2 of our interview with Miss Lena Cebula, and you are going to absolutely love what she has for us today.
That's what's gonna be it, and now I'm starting from scratch. That's how he led me to publish my book, sharing my story. Then I hired a speaking coach. I start kind of like molding my story into more hopeful rather than make people like cry heartbroken. So I want them to see God and how much he loves sinners rather than how tragic my life was, because I don't cry over my life. So I don't want you to have that either. And then he led me to Christian leadership life coaching that I've been almost 2 years that I learned how to coach people, especially women, because my heart always been after women. And that's what I chose to do it when I went to my cosmetology course, because I want women to feel beautiful and confident and have a safe space for them to share. Because you go to your hairstylist, you pour everything on
Oh,
them
yeah.
because it's easier to share with the kind of strangers, but then becoming a friends. So I realized going into coaching, because I thought I'm starting from scratch at 40, but what I was doing for last 16 years, I still was mentoring women. I was giving them advice. I was holding, loving on them, and try to make their life better. So the coolest part about this program, it's Christian, so it's all about love of God. So it was a huge self-development tool for me. So it took me on another level with God, and it's taught me be more and more like Jesus, which is so beautiful. And then just reframe it. Before, like, I was like mentoring and giving advice, but you know what, everything that I went through, if I give you advice, I don't think it's gonna fit into your life, because you have to make sure. And that's what the coaching is. You um more creating the safe space to explore, and through the question leading the person who already have a wisdom from the Lord to make that decision. They just need more creative thinking, and by the question and the exercises that I have, I actually present them opportunity to brainstorm their own ideas in a safe space and come up with their own solution. And that's how they will follow through on their own agenda, because agenda is their, solution is theirs, everything is theirs. But seeing that, how in the beginning it's so vague, and then in the end they're like, whoa, I can do this, and seeing how it changing women's life. And now I've been coaching for many hours and see how God uses me as a vessel. And all that past that I have, i I am actually super an intuitive coach, because before I have to make sure that I'm safe. I have to make sure the way you look at me, how you speak, and all this stuff. But plus, I have this huge skills that I've been born with. Not the skills like the gifts, but the skills that I developed through the life. So literally, when I did my like that test, what is that? Personality test. Life coach was number one for me. I'm like, okay, God, I guess you made me for this job. And I kid you not, when I start working for God, like, I'm so glad that He allowed me to try my dreams for me. And they were like teeny tiny, although it was big dreams, but it was teeny tiny. And now I wake up, there's no ceiling. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know what you're gonna do today, but I love it. And I think that's how I know that it's a sweet spot, because the way that Holy Spirit uses me, the way that life's been changed, the way that he actually using like all the different aspects of my life and experiences, like all these different traumas and experience and stuff, and have no judgment and have healing and love and joy and peace, and being on another side. And now he using me to actually give this to someone else, like
Hmm.
himself, and all these glorious gifts. I'm just so grateful. Oh my God, yeah, use me.
No, that's beautiful. And isn't that exactly how God is? To take all those things, all those pieces of our life like a mosaic and make a beautiful masterpiece out of it. And you're like, wow, okay, yeah, I do have all these skills and things and it's like, whoa, okay, you made a job of it, God, like, wow. And I just think that that's absolutely amazing. So, hey guys, here we are for Victory Point of View. And I am so excited because we have back with us an amazing guest, Miss Lena Cebula, and she has a wonderful story for us. So, Lena, tell us.
Victory, you would not believe.
Try me!
So in 2015, I went to a Christian women retreat with my church, and I've been doing this for the last 5 years. And what's awesome about that place, we're right in the middle of the forest, and there's like awesome campground. So usually 50 women who I love dearly from my church and doing the life together, coming together, and we worship. We have a speaker, have a food served to us. It's such a beautiful place to walk around and reflect. And the most amazing thing that I always hear from God there. So I
Mhm.
have expectation every time I'm coming there every year, and I am shaking with excitement that what's God gonna open like or reveal to me. And it's always so beautiful and brought me so many different revelations, step up with my relationship with him, and it was just beautiful. So this time was no exception. I was so excited, and we have an amazing speaker. She sharing this story, and I hear from God when she asking, is anybody want to share something? um I felt like God saying, take the mic. And honestly, my English, like sometimes like I have all those, we're judging ourselves all the time, and I speak three languages, so sometimes I mess up the words, I have accent and all that stuff. So it's separate kind of trauma. So he goes, take the mic. And I was so afraid. Although I love talking, but public speaking, it was like such a fear of mine. But I took the mic because I heard his voice, and I was shaking. I was so shaken, but I told the story, and everybody laughed and cry and clap, all these so different emotions. And I loved it. I'm like, I'm so grateful I did this. And later on, so just being obedient, it was like small step of faith, but it still was hard for me. But
Sure.
then I went and I talked to this lady who was our speaker. She was fantastic and very dynamic, and I loved it. And I shared a couple stories with her, and she said to me, huh, you should travel with me and share your stories. And I'm like, oh, I don't think so. I have three kids. I'm busy. But it's kind of like little bit scared me because of course when we meet people for the first time, we don't share our trauma, we share like good stories, interest in something. And she said to me right away, Lena, you're a storyteller, I want to know your story. And then she said, well, if you cannot travel, you should write the book. I'm like, okay. So then I go and I talk to my other friend, and I said to her, wow, this lady thinks that I should write a book. And my friend, I thought she would ridicule me. And she's like, you should definitely write the book about your life, because she's part of my alpha group, because I was running and co running alpha, because that's where I give my life to Christ. And she saw that people listening to my story, looking into God, because like you just can't. You're going to listen my story, and you're going to know that something will inspire you to actually like want that grace and love of
Sure.
God. And when she said to me that I should write the book, I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous. Twice somebody told me already to write the book. Then another person came, and I said, like, oh no. And she said, and actually talk to this woman because she wrote her own book so she can help you. And then next morning I see this woman coming to me, and I literally have like this, like, almost, not the alarm, but like, yeah, probably alarm, but the alarm in the place, like, I don't know, the um oh my goodness, like on this boat or whatever. Anyway, I'm trying to figure out how to explain this, but it's like literally it's buzzing in my head, ask her, ask her, ask her, ask her,
Okay.
ask her. So I couldn't like really ignore that. So I said to my friend, I'm like, listen, these two women think that I should write the book. And she literally, that was like her expression. She's like just clap, like push on the table and say, you certainly should. And then she goes like, do you know, I was the mom, I was this, I was that, like, and I still make it. So you can do it. That's how you're gonna do it. So I'm like, okay, God. So I kind of walk by myself. I'm like, okay, what do you want me to write about? I feel like you're asking me to write a book. And he said, about miracle of God in your life. And honestly, after I give my life to Christ, I have so many miracles that I'm like, oh, I can write the book. I have no
Uh-huh.
problem with that. So I came home, and literally I was fallen asleep, and I have this vision in my head that I have a banner with my face on it. I have the book actually, that's how it's looked in my vision. It was the master color because, master, it's the you have to have the faith. But
Right.
this jewelry, this is my jewelry that I took this picture, and all of this jewelry is significant to me. But when God gave me this image, he just gave me this metaphor that I'm priceless to him, and I'm precious to
Oh.
him, and I'm his treasure. So I was and when I actually was talking to the publisher, I said to him, cannot be green, cannot be yellow. It have to be mustard. The picture have to be like that. And when I first time saw this book, I just so in love with this because
Oh,
everything like so precious to me as well. And but the interesting part, that next day I was saying to God, why are you doing to me this right now? Like, people already perceive me for who I am now. I don't want to share my story. And kind of I was going back and forth with him, but first, like, I didn't, like I told you, I didn't want to write the book. I didn't want to share my story because I thought it's story of guilt, shame, and condemnation. I thought people gonna reject me, stone me, abandon me, and I'm so didn't wanted that kind of attention. And fairly, I didn't want to tell them truth. I didn't want to tell them that I'm alcoholic, drug addict, prostitute, and everything that I was before Christ. But interestingly enough, I decided to start writing the book because I want to be obedient to God, and I step out in faith. But still, where I start writing the book, I came to this new city with my 3 kids, with my husband. I was full Christian, like overflowing with God's love. And then it's funny because in 3 months, I thought I was done with this book. And then I still was a hairstylist that time because it took me 3 years to actually wrestle through the part and get healed and just being loved by God through this experience. But I was a hairstylist, and one of my friends actually didn't want to tell her that I'm writing the book because I didn't want to tell anyone, because that would mean like commitment, and it's have to like go and publish. And I told her a couple stories, and she said, "Is there any stories about your childhood?" And it's actually make me sick to my stomach with fear. And she
oh,
said, I rather read what happened to you before Christ. And I came like to my husband, and he was getting ready to work for work. And I sit and I was angry, and I'm like, I think Holy Spirit tricked me into writing this book because he said to write about the miracles of God in my life. And then I hear Holy Spirit saying to me, I was so grumpy. I was like, how I agree to do this. I hear God saying to me, like with this like love and kindness in his voice, he's saying, well, you wasn't born like a Tory with 3 kids and husband. I'm like, oh, so when you said miracles in my life, you didn't mean my life with you. You mean like life in general from beginning to the end. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, well, I guess touche. And see how our human psyche work, okay, I will give them, but I will give them what I think they need. And
The
God said,
pretty
no, you're gonna
version.
give them. Yeah, exactly. And God said, do it everything. And I cried, guys, like I kid you not, like I cried like for probably like 3 days. I'm like in fear that it's gonna come out, because I hid this for 20 years. Even my husband didn't know like whole story because he chose not to know, because I wrote him a letter before we got married when he proposed to me, because I want him to choose to marry me or walk away, because I knew I didn't deserve to be loved, to be wife, to be mother. But he chose to stay. He said, this is between you and God. I love you for who you are now. And man, like this guy stayed by me through whole hell and destruction and disaster, while God was rebuilding me, rebuilding my life, and then rebuilding our marriage as well. So he actually know full story when the book, like
Wow.
the manuscript, went to the editor. And I said to him, do you want to read the book or you want to know from me? So actually, he decided to know from me. So I give him so much more than made it into this book. And when I was talking to my editor, I said to her, I don't want people to want to have a therapy. I don't want them to have this like suffering and depressions after that. I want to write this book, like, well, it's been written. Manuscript was gigantic because it was like almost 20 years of my life, but I wanted to make it so accessible that my 13-year-old read it. So there's gonna be no triggers, there's nothing gory, there's no anything that you think that can trigger you to the point that you're gonna need therapy. Because I'm doing this work, I went through this. I don't want you to feel like that. All I want you to see, that God loves sinners, that God will love you no matter who you are, what you're doing, where you are, that you never fall so far that his glory, love, and forgiveness would not lift you up, restore you, put it in a row, give you a new song, give you a new life, give you new life. So that's what I want you to know, that there's hope, forgiveness, and love, and grace, and peace, and wholeness again after trauma for you. So there
Yes.
you go. That's the story.
That is a miracle story. I love how you had so many people, repeating the same thing. Because I feel like that when God calls us forward, he does send confirmations, multiple confirmations. And that is, I think, what can help us hold on when we're questioning, as you're in the writing process, did God really say, It's like,
But
yes, yes, he did, because I remember all those people.
But you know what? Not only that, that through this process, I have moments that I wrote every day, 3 hours a day. Sometimes I have to step away for 2 months. And God, in those 2 months, He worked with me. He healed me. He brought me people into my life who spoke life into me. He brought like different situations, and He literally just was healing me through those like process. That's how I knew that that's what he want me to do. That's where he met me all the time.
See, I love that. I had a lady on one of my first episodes, and she talked about, she had gone through all this stuff, and the Lord asked her to just step out and start telling her story. I'll heal you while you're telling your story. And so she would take these obedient steps in, and he would be so faithful to be healing her in telling the story. And I think about, the Israelites when they came up to the Red Sea, and Moses is about to part the Red Sea. They had to take a step. They took a step and he parted. And so I think oftentimes we think, oh, well, God will heal us, or those kind of things, or God will move, and I just need to be like really still or whatever. But I think in taking action, like the color of your book, the mustard
Absolutely.
seed, his faith as small as a mustard seed, one step forward, that's where he's
Amen to
meeting
that.
us, right in that place. So yeah.
Absolutely. Sometimes, like, we're getting into this misconception that God gonna do everything for us, but He already delegate this to us. He give us free choice. He give us freedom to decide. Because guess what? He didn't force me to do it.
No.
He asked me, like, He presented that to me. You know what? I could stay and don't do it.
Sure.
There was
Sure.
like no, like, you're gonna die if you're not gonna do it. But longer I stay with not taking that action where he was leading me, longer I would stay in that suffering that I was before. And that's so beautiful that you point that out, because guys, just like, do it afraid, with God, like, just take the step of faith, because he gonna support you. And he literally, the moment, like, I saw that box and I moved this paper and I saw this book, like, literally, I have, like, my heart stopped for like a second, and I heard him speaking to me. See, I told you, just trust me.
Mm-hmm. I love it. And I love the cover of your book and what it means. And I
Yes.
just thank you so much for sharing your You Would Not Believe story. It's a beautiful
Mhm.
one. Do you have a way that our guests can connect with you if they want to reach out for counseling or want to see your show or get your book? Do you have a website that they should look at?
Absolutely. The website is lenacebula.ca, and you can get my book through that website. You can listen some podcast episodes, and if you go, I think first or second episode, the full story. But don't judge. It was long time ago, and my English all over the place. And but I think it's fun. And yes, and absolutely, there is coaching page as well.
Okay.
So there's coaching questionnaire. And honestly, guys, this is for you for this episode. And if you're listening right now, and if you really like feel like stuck and you're asking what I'm doing here, and or if you're in transition or have some kind of life challenges that you need support, I would give you free 30 minutes coaching, no string attached. But if you go on my website, or I'm going to give Victory as well, that questionnaire, it's pre-coaching questionnaire. It's absolutely free, just little bit more for me to know about your specific needs. And let's get connected, and I will help you, because I see so many women to have this like progress and move forward with their lives. That's what I live for, and I want you to
Yes.
have this. So I give you this 30 minutes free, no
That's
string attached.
wonderful. You
But
guys
another
take it.
thing that
You guys take advantage of that. That's a wonderful gift. And I think that you mentioned that some of the proceeds from your book go to that organization as well.
there's there's two organizations that I support with the book. And it's first, it's Christian nonprofit called Fight for Freedom.
Okay.
And a second one, it's called Zonta, Building Better World for Women and Girls, because I do believe in giving back. And I love that this book can serve someone and bring the salvation message, but it actually goes to support survivors as well. And there's amazing organizations who do that job on the ground. And I'm so grateful to be a link between this organization and you, and I'm so grateful that this book has a purpose as well.
Yes. And guys, remember that as we are sometimes asking ourselves, well, how could I help? Or, how can my life matter? You don't necessarily need to go and start your own ministry. There are ministries out there that, like Lena's talking about, that we can support, that are doing, being the hands and feet of Christ as well.
Yeah.
And so that's another way that we can go ahead and get started, even if we don't know where to begin. So I encourage you guys to go check that out for sure. I agree. I think that even from childhood, God placed certain things inside of us, and those are our passions, the things that excite us, the things that we have interest about, And like Lena mentioned, and I say this all the time, people ask me, "How do you know if you've heard God? How do you know if He's speaking to you?" And I say, "Well, it usually starts with something I don't personally want to do." Something that makes me uncomfortable, something that makes me feel a little insecure or whatever. And that's usually when it's the voice of God, but it's also like we're talking about something that maybe has been in you for a long time, and that could be the way that you kind of recognize some of your gifts and callings is some of those things that spark you find yourself scrolling Pinterest or whatever, and you come across something and you're like, oh, look at that. Those are the kind of things that light us up.
Absolutely. And guys, if you thinking what we are here to do, just wanna leave because I'm staring in this part and I read it couple times while you were talking. I'm like, I just want to leave that with you. So we are here to glorify God and adore Him forever, walking in the meaningful, faith-filled, God-honoring relational connection with our Creator. And guess what? It's not doesn't mean that you have to be perfect. It's just fact that he's so perfect and he's in love with you. It's such an amazing I hope it's amazing revelation for you too, because honestly, the supernatural creator of the universe wanna be in your mess, wanna guide you and walk beside you, and saying that he will never leave you, never forsake you, and never give up on you. Trust me, if he did this for me, he will do it for you.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Well, thank you so much, Lena, for being with us today, for sharing your story and your heart and your new adventures, and for
Thank you.
encouraging the rest of us to become all God called and created us to do and be as
Thank you.
well, and reminding us of the way He can use all those pieces, together to create something amazing. So I just want to thank you for being here today. And I love that you shared your story. I did cry, but I cried about the way that God had worked, and the places where He was meeting you along the way. Because that was so beautiful to me. So y'all definitely feel free to cry about that because
And
because God
honestly,
is so
thank you
good.
so much. I wanna give you shout out because you guys are amazing. We've been planning this interview for a while and we have some roadblocks along the way, and you and your team is fantastic, and you're beautiful and kind and have so much insight, and I'm so grateful that you give me this platform to share my story. And thank you so much for preparing me the way you guys like do, and you just guys amazing, and I hope and pray that this ministry is growing, and I hope and pray people heard your heart, my heart, and Jesus heart, so they can look for hope and encouragement, and download the right messages, because social media full of stuff that maybe like not serving us in the right way. But
Yeah.
I'm grateful that you hold in space to actually serve your listeners and the people around the world with the right kind of content. And you guys are fantastic. So I'm really
Oh.
grateful to be here today.
Well, thank you so, so much. I'm so grateful to have you. Aw, so you guys definitely go check out her website, and we'll put those notes down in the description so that you can, click on it and follow and like and watch her show as well and get the book. So definitely you guys will have all that information for you. So it'll be easy. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us this week. And we look forward to a wonderful, wonderful episode next week as well.